Ho avuto adesso la comunicazione che è partito anche YouTube, quindi di fatto se noi vogliamo aspettare ancora un minuto, magari in religioso silenzio, per evitare di essere ripresi in diretta, comunque magari approfittiamo che io posso dire giusto due parole, eccola Daniela, due parole veloci per quanto concerne i webinar in generale. Questo è il primo webinar di questo semestre, ricomincia da ora formalmente l'attività molto intensa di solito di seminari che si sono trasformati nello scorso semestre con il lockdown in webinar, ricomincia ufficialmente e abbiamo già un novembre particolarmente denso di incontri, anche dicembre si prepara adesso l'altrettanto. Nonostante sappiamo tutti come, e come parlavamo prima col nostro relatore, con Nelson, non sia la stessa cosa fare i webinar invece che i seminari, c'è un altro rapporto, un altro calore, un'altra possibilità, un'altra confidenza, però dobbiamo dire che i nostri webinar hanno avuto un grossissimo successo, addirittura abbiamo avuto webinar che hanno avuto più di 1000 followers anche successivamente sul sito YouTube. Vorrei quindi ancora ringraziare i docenti che danno una mano e che propongono seminari, webinar, ma voglio anche e soprattutto ringraziare il SID, in particolare come sempre nella persona di Bernardo Carmina, che ci danno un supporto fondamentale per l'organizzazione di questi webinar. Io non voglio aggiungere molte altre cose per non togliere spazio e tempo alla presentazione, quindi io passerei volentieri la parola a Duccio Bertoni, che si è fatto carico dell'organizzazione di questo interessantissimo seminario, che tra l'altro va molto bene nell'ottica di molte iniziative che stanno facendo i nostri corsi di studio, penso al percorso costiero di scienze ambientali per quanto riguarda appunto il management costiero. Quindi io non aggiungo altro e do la parola a Duccio Bertoni e invito tutti a staccare il microfono, eccetto ovviamente i relatori e anche la telecamera, e poi ovviamente alla fine della giornata del seminario sarà lo stesso Duccio Bertoni che gestirà le domande. Ok? Eventualmente Duccio, se ci fossero delle domande su YouTube, quelle eventualmente te le passa Bernardo Carmina, ok? Va bene? Nel caso c'è l'aspetto di regia, lo fa Bernardo Carmina. Io vi ringrazio ancora e quindi mi astraggo anch'io dalla telecamera e dal microfono. Buon seminario. Grazie ancora Nelson.
Thank you. Grazie.
Grazie Gianni. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here today. Just a few words before letting Nelson talk. And I'm happy to get the honor to kick off the 2020-2021 cycle of webinars with Nelson Rangel-Buitrago. Nelson is a full professor of geology at the Universidad del Atlantico at Barrenquilla, in the beautiful Caribbean coast of Colombia. And even though we never met personally, maybe, I don't remember exactly, but our paths just crossed at some conference somewhere. Lately, we exchanged so many emails to discuss topics related to coastal risk and vulnerability. Actually, it all started from a coastal dune vulnerability index, and I do hope that we'd be able to achieve what we targeted when we began the collaboration some time ago, actually in the early months of 2020. I mean, you're not here to listen to me. You're here for Nelson. So please go ahead, Nelson, and thank you again for accepting the invitation, my friend.
Thank you very much. Ciao, people. I hope everything is okay in Italy. My name is Nelson. Thank you for the invitation for this seminar. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here. Try to explain a little bit about the Caribbean coastline of Colombia, a very beautiful place in the world, but we have a really, really nice place, but with several problems that I want to try to show you during this conference. I will try to put my presentation. No idea where is the presentation. Is now open. Yes, but no idea about this. Okay, I think yes. I will share this. Can you see the presentation, my friends?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, perfect. This presentation is a overview about the situation of the Caribbean coast of Colombia. We have many histories or tales to speak about the Caribbean coastline, but I try to choose maybe the 7 most representative of the Caribbean coastline. I working with geology, geophysics, and coastal and marine process group in the Atlantic University. We are a really recent group of research. We have a 6-year working in the Caribbean coastline of Colombia, specifically in the coastline of the Atlantico department that is located in the central part of the Caribbean coastline of Colombia. I always try to say in my presentation something important. In this presentation, we try to speak with the truth, because when you speak about management, sometimes you try to be polite. We can do some action, etc. But when you try to do coastal management and working with this, you need to be more clear and use the real to try to show the real situation of the area, right? This presentation is divided in a framework about the area. I will speak about the Caribbean coast of Colombia, and then the history. The first one is about a coastal road in danger that is located close to Barrenquilla, about the pier that is located just 20 minutes of here, is the pier of Puerto Colombia. Then we speak about the problem of the sea level and subsidence in Cartagena city. Cartagena maybe is the most famous city of Colombia. Then we speak about a very common problem. I think it's the same problem in Italy. It's about the Armory coastline. Then we'll speak about the stream waves in the Colombian, then about the scenery, and finishing with the litter problem that is a very common problem here in the Caribbean coastline. And we conclude with a little bit about the management, right? What happened with the Caribbean coast? Sorry, with the Caribbean. With Caribbean and Colombian Caribbean. It's a very nice place in the world. All the people love the beaches. All the people love the coastal area. But this area in the world have a big problem. We are losing coastal area, and that is not a science fiction. It's a real truth. And that is a big issue, because if we lose the beaches, we lose the money, right? For example, this is the case of a tourist area just located 5 minutes from here. Is Santa Veronica. Is a coastal destination for the weekend of the people. And this is the common situation. They lose money when you have a stream waves event in this area, okay? And we must to remember that we don't have beaches, we don't have money, and we have a big issue to solve, right? What happened here? Sometimes we forget the most important. We need to know what happened in the coastal area. What are the time and space pattern of natural factors that are involved in the shoreline evolution? This is very important. Why? Because the people try to solve the issues or the problems that the coastline present. We take in account this process, right? For example, this is very common here in the Caribbean coastline of Colombia, that the people see a process of partial erosion of an area, and the immediate solution is to build a hard structure like a groin, and the problem increase because they don't have idea what happened with the real process along this beach. And this is very important because we forget the physical process and the human factor that are involved in the shoreline evolution, right? And this is very important. Why? Because we it's really impossible to have control of all the process. That is true, but we need the information about all the process that occurs along the coastline. We know about the subsidence. We know something about the coastal erosion. We know about the dredging, what happened with the sand mining, what happened with the climate change and the precipitation patterns in the area. Is the area subjected to sea level rise? And most of the times we only work in just one of these process and forget the remaining one. And sometimes one process is more important than other. For example, in Cartagena, all the people is focused in the sea level rise, but they forget the land subsidence. And the real problem is the subsidence, not the sea level rise, right? And it's important to understand the coastal system for one specific reason. If you want to do coastal management, if you want to do risk management, you need to know what happened with the coastal system. For example, these images, you have clearly a sand spit in this area. And if you don't have idea what is the behavior of this sand spit along this area, you can make some mistake like the construction of tourist urbanization over the sand spit, then you have a big issue. This is the big problem with the coastal or induced vulnerability. You put a problem where the problem does not exist. And it's important to understand the coastal system because you can avoid problems in the near future. And what happens when you don't understand the coastal system? Something like this. For example, if you can see these two images, you see hard structures in front of mangroves. That is not the idea, because the mangroves are coastal engineers that help you in minimize the coastal erosion process, right? And this is a very, very particular situation that you have here in the Caribbean coast of Colombia. You have coastal protection structures doing in place when these structures are not necessary because the same ecosystem can do this job, right? And what happened with this? Our current approach is the perfect situation to lose money. The lose money, I put this very particular because it's the perfect situation to stall money. It's a perfect scenario to the corruption. Why? Okay. Then it's important to speak about the Caribbean coast of Colombia. It's a very particular area. It's really, really nice. We are located between Panama in this area, right? Panama was a former part of Colombia, but we lose Panama, and the east part of Venezuela, okay? Our coastline is northeast to west orientation. We have some sector with S, and in general terms, we have a combination between long linear cements with base, Zeta base. The tectonic is very, very important in this coastal area, right? If, for example, we have here a very particular process, the Moody-Apris process, that is very common between the Magdalena River Delta to the south area until the Urabá Gulf. It's a very, very important geological process that controls the area in this sector. We are in a microtidal environment, and we don't have very particular problem with the wave height because our average is 1.5 meters. Is the normal situation here. This area is a very particular developing region. We have 8 departments. I think it's I don't know what is the equivalent from Italy, but it's I think it's province. I think. And we have 8 departments with 28 municipalities, coastal municipality, right? This population is almost the 5% of all population of Colombia, but the most of population of the Caribbean coastline is located in the 4 most important cities of the Caribbean: Cartagena, Barranquilla, Riohacha, and what is the name of the other? Santa Marta. They are the most important. Maybe you are familiar with Cartagena. That is the most important tourist city of the Caribbean coastline of Colombia. We living one of the most important economic wranglers of the Caribbean is the sun, sea, and sand tourism. We have a very important activity with a lot of international arrivals, and this is growing. Before the pandemic, this number was really, really good because our airports are receiving flights from Amsterdam, from Spain, from US, and the tourist destination, or the tourists, or the area is now a new tourist destination for these people of Europe and North America. Also, we receive a lot of cruises, and very important. And during the last year before the pandemic, is the very, very important economic sector of the Caribbean. But in some parts, this activity is not developing in the best way. For example, this is a picture from Taganga, is close to the Santa Marta city, and you can see a crowded beach that the people leave the beach. You can find a lot of This is the current panorama of the road, and we are losing money in this point. Yes, is that this is a picture taken maybe 1 year before. Okay, the other history is about the pier of Puerto Colombia, right? In the beginning of the last century, this is the most important place for the commerce in the Caribbean coastline. The Puerto Colombia is the place when all the ships are arriving and leave the goods and the food that we're using in the Caribbean coastline. This is the panorama just a year before. The pier is a national monument, right? You have a destroyer pier in this moment. And what happened here? We have a very, very particular combination of process. The first one is the sediments. Why the sediments? Because you can see the pier is located in this area. This is the Magdalena River mouth, right? And the Magdalena River mouth was changed in the beginning of the 30s. Why? They built a jetty in this area. Yeah, you can see the old map, right? And the jetty changed all the sedimentation process of this area located here. I try to show you, in this map. Puerto Colombia is located here. This area in the past was a formed sand spit. This sand spit was losing completely when the jetty was constructed in this area. This sand spit was accumulated in this area here in Puerto Colombia, in Puerto Velero, right? That now is an area for a marina. All the area located here was losing completely, and the pier was exposed completely. And this is the situation now. What happened with the stream wave events? When you lose the sand spit, this sand spit was the former protection for the pier, right? And the pier keep exposed for these events, was destroyed, and then you have the current situation here. Also, you need to complement with the basin alteration of the Magdalena River system, destruction of some ecosystem, and change in the sediment type of the area. This is the current jetty, right? You can see the change along the Magdalena River between the moment when the jetty was constructed, right? And part of this sediment is loose completely offshore. This is a former picture of the Puerto Colombia pier before its destruction. And this is the wave and current panorama of this area. All the sediment is loose from north to southwest, right? And you have a very, very extreme sediment change along the area. You can see, for example, the sand spit that protect the pier, how the sand spit was losing in the time, and all this sediment of the sand spit is now accumulated here in this new sand spit that they use it like a tourist spot for nautical activities, right? You can find more information about this process in this book, Sand and Grammar Fish, the Fish Charter, Evolution of Sandstone along the Caribbean coast of Colombia, right? Okay. This is the current situation, and the Colombian government is spend a lot of money try to solve the situation with this pier that is a national monument. Okay. Another history is about the sea level problem, and we move to Cartagena City. This is the normal situation of Cartagena, just with a high tide. We don't need an extreme wave, or a hurricane, or a extreme rainfall. Just a high tide produces this. What happened in Cartagena? The sea level rise is increasing, right? The number or the magnitude of this increase is up at least 6 millimeters per year. Okay, but also we have a big issue about the subsidence of the area. Why subsidence? The tourist area of Cartagena all was constructed over a sand spit. One of the sand spits located, or the group of sand spits generate from the Magdalena River Delta to Cartagena, all related with the sediment transport along the area. One of these sand spits was used for an extreme urbanization process. This urbanization process brings a subsidence situation for the tourist area of Cartagena. And this is the normal panorama when you have a high tide along the area, right? What happened here is a normal process, and we need to define what is the most important process in this moment. Is the subsidence or is the sea level rise? What is the big concern here? We don't have a node instrument to measure the sea level rise, and also the subsidence is just start the measuring or the assessment just 5 years ago. We don't have any information to try to understand what is the real problem in this area, that this is the very important area of the Caribbean coastline. This picture is from the old downtown of the Cartagena city after a rain, right? And the problem here is very, very complicated, because if you came to a city to do tourists and you find this, you have a big problem. This is something similar to the problem that you have in Venice, right? It's not the same magnitude, but you have a big problem when you have a high tide or a extreme rain, right? And what happened here? What happened with the city? What is the best solution? It's time to move, it's time to protect, or it's time to adapt. In the Caribbean coastline of Colombia, the favorite is protection, because the protection is based in hard structures. We never think about move, or we never think about adapt. And that is a big concern, because the protection is too expensive, and the most of the time don't solve the real situation about the coastal erosion, subsidence, or sea level problem. And this brings us the next history, that is about the armory cities. We love the rocks, right? But not the rocks in the whiskey, or not the rocks in the beer. We love the rocks in the beach. The coastal protection approach is the favorite approach using to try to manage the coastal erosion in the Caribbean coastline of Colombia, right? You have some example of Cartagena. You can see the tourist area. Remember my former words about the subsidence and the sea level rise, and the way that we fight against the coastal erosion and etc. What happened is the fear option always, right? And we love the groins, we love the breakwaters, we love the seawalls. In every municipality of Colombia, you can find examples about this. You can find this in Cartagena, you can find this in Puerto Colombia, you can find this in Salgar Atlántico, you can find this even in a remote area in Buritaca, Magdalena, or even in areas with salt ponds in the Guajira Peninsula. What happened with this? This is because we are working in an action-reaction process, right? When we have an erosion problem or erosion process, we have a reaction, and our reaction is built on a structure. It's important to highlight something here. Most of the time, this structure is built with any kind of connotation about the problem of the area. In fact, that is a very sad situation that we have here. I don't know if in Italy you have something called Teleton. Teleton is an activity that you have for people that need help, right? Here in the Caribbean coastline, we have rockton, right? It's not a joke, it's a real terms. The rockton is a collect of rocks in order to construct a hard structure. And the worst situation is that some people in the newspapers encourage this activity when this activity is really wrong and unsafe for the environment. What happened about this? We have a lot of hard structures, right? If you take all our structures in the Caribbean coastline of Colombia, we have 100 kilometers of armored coastline. And the question is, we are mitigating or protecting the coastline, or we are a systematic or empiric development. In this moment, we have the effect domino. Why? Because we construct hard structures, and the neighbor do the same, the neighbor do the same. At the end, you have a lot of hard structures. This is a table that shows the most important hard structures built in each municipality, the length and the numbers. And you can see the groins, the breakwater, the seawall, the reverend, the reef traps are the favorites of the people in the Caribbean coastline of Colombia. And this is the type of structure that we do here in the Caribbean coastline. This is a very big problem that now is out of hand because our natural areas are losing due to the hard structures that are building in this area. For example, Cartagena, you can see the old pictures of Cartagena, and you can see no recent picture. This is the for 20 years before, some image for Cartagena and the hard structures. You can see that the city are losing a tourist city, 3S city is losing the area for tourists because we are replacing beaches by hard structures, and that is not good for the tourism industry. Other example, for example, in La Guajira, you can see the change in the shape, in the plant shape of the beach thanks to the hard structures. You can see, for example, a growing and a harbor. Another example in the Morrosquillo Gulf, you can see reversement, or, for example, hard structures built with the minimum distance between structures. That is a big issue. Or, for example, this is the case of a natural park. Corral de Rosario San Bernardo National Natural Park is a protected area, but, however, the people make the hard structure in these sectors. This is I call this a chronic of a dead forest because it's a very bad situation for the Caribbean coastline. The other one is the previous scene, the impact of the stream wave events in the Caribbean coastline. This is a normal image of Cartagena City during Mar de Leva. We call this Mar de Leva or a hurricane. And here is important to know that the stream events generate change in a time span very particular, right? What happened here? The stream wave events generate hazard, vulnerability and risk along the coastal zone. These events change the human activity and the ecosystem. And what happened here is really hard to analyze and compare between areas. And the big concern of the Caribbean coastline is simple. We do not have voice to measure what happened with the wave heights in the Caribbean coastline. In this moment, we need this kind of information because this information is basics, is the basis to try to understand the process. Why? Right? For example, we don't have the assessment about the storms or the stream waves, the groups, the groupness about the stream waves in the Caribbean coastline. What happened here? We have Mar de Leva, hurricanes, and tropical storms. All these processes are changes due to the climate change, and we need to know what happened here. For example, we use some models for very specific areas about what happened with the forcing values in these areas when you have a stream waves and you have the big issue in some islands of the Caribbean coastline of Colombia. For more information about this is a very particular book that we developed, and we did an assessment with a methodology that we developed and applied in Cartagena and Cadiz cities in Spain. And what happened here? We calculate the erosion index due events, and we find that our coastline have a big issue about the coastal erosion associated with the stream events. The hazard is moderate and high. The vulnerability is from different point of view, socioeconomic, conservational, heritage, and total is completely different. And we have a big problem from a socioeconomic point of view. We are losing money here, and the risk is high due to this condition of the study area, right? Okay. Another history is about the coastal scenery, right? We are destroying the coastal landscape of the Caribbean coastline. It is very simple, right? If I ask you, please choose one area, what do you think about? For example, Ducio, A, B, C, or D? Which one?
B.
Another person that help us with the beach, please. Ducio choose the B. Which one? Their friends. C, D, A. Pick up one, please. Another person. The most of the people, which one?
C.
C. Okay, perfect. The most of the people, we choose B, C, or D. It's really complicated that people choose the first one, this one. And the reason is the scenery, because all the people see a beach with a lot of woody debris, litter, and the people don't like that. People prefer a beach like B, that this is Santa Catarina, right? It's a natural, a rural beach, or C, that is in Cadiz in Spain, or D, that this is Tulum in the Caribbean, Riviera Maya, or Mexico. People don't like the woody debris, don't like this. Why? Because we prefer 5 things when we choose a beach. The scenery, or we want a beautiful scenery, no litter, a nice water quality, security, and facilities in order to go to the beach. They are the big 5. What happened here? This is we did a book about the coastal scenery around the world, right? And this is an example for Colombia. What is this? It's an assessment developed with using a coastal scenery evaluation system. This is an interesting methodology developed by Eisenergin, Alan Williams, and Anton Mikalev years ago. And we using a lot of variables, where these variables are not here, in order to classify the scenario of a beach. And at the end, you have a classification divided in 5 categories: class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 5. You can see with these pictures the difference between the class 1, the class 3, and the class 5. Class 1 is a natural area with any kind of human intervention, without any human intervention. In the opposite side, the class 5 is a urban area with a lot of people and human interventions, right? And we did the classification for the Caribbean coast of Colombia, and our results are not good because most of the beaches are located in the class 3, 4, and 5. That is not a good number. And this first approximation gives us as a result that litter, the seaways, the noise, the structure, and the coastal erosion are the main problems that have our beaches in order to alter the coastal scenery, right? Then we go deeper and we're working in 35 beaches of the North Caribbean of Colombia. In this case, we try to know what is the most important factor, and the most important factor is litter. We have a really, really big issue about the litter in the Caribbean coastline. And we found that a lot of beaches are losing the coastal scenery quality due to the litter issue. You can see Alan Williams taking pictures here in Cartagena City, and you can see the litter problems in this area. What happened here? We combine the scenic class with the litter grade. That is a really simple classification. You go to the beach and walk 100 meters and try to pick up the most important items and give the classification, the work classification of litter obtained in this area, right? And you can see the difference between the class and the number of the number of litters that you can find this. In this area, our second approximation is simple. The results are the same. class 3, 4, and 5 are the common denominator about the coastal scenery classification. And this is very common situation here. This picture is a hill close to the natural park. It's a beach called the Seven Waves. This is a litter bloom generated after rain, and this is an accumulation of litter and woody debris close to the sand pond located here. That leaves us that litter is a big concern in this area of the Caribbean of Colombia. And the last history is about litter, the litter that we hide, that are the litter impacts along the Caribbean coast of Colombia. Okay, you have the Caribbean coastline of Colombia, but we focus here in the Caribbean coast, in the coastline of Atlantico department, where I am living this moment. We did a station network in this area, right? 26 stations, and in each station we did a classification about the typology of the beach. We measured or determined the typology, the scenery, the litter, and the litter grade. What we found, we collected, categorized the litter in terms of buoyancy, counted, weighted, and calculated the densities in terms of items per meter, right? And we found something interesting. Our average density of litters item is that almost 3 items per meter. 3 litter items per meter. That is a lot of litter items along this area. What happened here? In some place, this density can reach even 8 items per meter. That is a lot of litter for a very specific sector, right? And when we found the most common litter item, the plastic, the polystyrene, the rubber, the glass, the metal, organic matter, and processed wood. These are very particular problem that we have. What happened here? For example, in the Atlantic department, we don't have a lot of urban beaches. We don't have a lot of resort beaches. We have our beaches are remote, rural, and beaches. What happened here? The most of this litter came from the Magdalena River, right? The basin encompasses the 25% of our Colombia. We have a lot of municipalities in this area. The 18% of the Colombian population is located in this basin, and almost the half of the municipalities of this basin don't have disposal centers. What's happening here? All the litter go to the basin, move along the basin for the river, and then go to the sea for this area that is the Magdalena River mouth. And this litter is moving from the south thanks to the currents about the area. The other source is the beach users. What's happening here? The people that make tourist activities along the area don't have very good behavior, and they go to the beach and leave the litter in these sectors. And if you can see, we can find the difference between each of the example of beaches according to class and the litter systems. Okay, that are the histories, and the question is how can solve all these issues that we have. And this is very important to understand what happened. You have many solutions for solve a problem, but some solutions are better than others. We need to be smart. We need to have good information in order to take the better decision. And this is very important in a country like Colombia because we don't have a lot of money to spend in this. What is the management cycle here? In some point, we have panic. Oh, we have a problem. We have a big issue that we need to solve. We work in an apparent solution. Then we go to apathy. Again, the problem appears. We enter to awareness stage, the concerns, and then the panic, and the cycle repeat and repeat and repeat every year in every moment. This is the current management situation. And we need to change this because we need to leave our friend Homero and try to detect the problem, gather the information, redefine the problem, develop the better option, assess the option, select the better option, implement, monitoring, and evaluate, all in a circular way in order to identify, preparing, and managing the problem or the situation. What happened here? We need to focus in enlarge the coastal resilience and incorporate coastal erosion cause and risks in the different policy instruments. We need to make response to coastal erosion and the problems accountable. We need to understand and reinforce the economy based on coastal erosion and planning. We need to comprehend all the process or the major quantity of process involved in the situation in order to choose the best management strategy, because the perfect situation is try to understand all the process, but that is not true in the normal life, right? But if we have a lot of information, we try to understand better the problem and we can choose the better information to solve the situation. We try to involve the community in this kind of problems. We try to evaluate and determine the optimal management strategy. And something important here in Colombia, we need to lay aside the concept good, beautiful, and cheap. That is very, very common here in Colombia. It's good, beautiful, and cheap. That is the solution. No. Sometimes you need to spend a little bit more money in order to try to find a better solution about it. And also, we need to make some changes and reforms in the current environmental legislation. We need to adapt new measures in order to get a better support decision. Also, we need to try to reduce the individual consequence. For example, the hard structure is a good example. If you have money, you can build a higher structure. Is an individual way to think or try to solve the problem, and you move the problem to the other side. We need to lay aside this kind of approach. Also, we need to try to raise the public awareness about the risks associated with the bad management practice and try to provide an efficient and sustained response to the different issues. The last one is reducing the consequence for individual, raise public awareness, providing effective and sustained response, prioritizing investment in communities that are in this moment at risk because they have a big issue. Okay, friends, thank you very much for your attention. I hope this talk was interesting for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nelson. And I think that if you want, you can turn on your video feed back again.
Okay.
And thank you again for a really interesting and nice presentation you just took. And I ask, does anybody have any questions? Please raise the hand with the dedicated tool from the bar. Matteo, please.
Okay. Hi, thank you so much for this very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Maybe I lost some point, but you said that subsidence is a particular problem of your area, and in which way, I mean, you are going to assess the subsidence vulnerability of the area? You have data, you have some models, or
yes. In the last, I don't remember, maybe 2 years before, a group of people that work in Cartagena developed the first paper about subsidence in the Cartagena area, right? They have the information about the first result that they get after the installation of a monitoring network from the Geological Survey of Colombia. The first information is the first one report, and they suggest that subsidence is a very particular situation in Cartagena. They have the data and they confirm something important. If you have the possibility to build a lot of buildings in a certain speed, the normal process is the speed go down thanks to the subsidence. And that is a very common problem in Cartagena. The theoretical information is, okay, you have the sun spin, you have a string urbanization process, you have a subsidence process there. We need the measures. they put the network, and the first results confirm that information. And now we are waiting for more results in order to understand which are the rates of subsidence along that area of Cartagena that is very important in this moment for the tourists of the country.
So if I'm right, it was measured with some leveling and some GPS network?
Yes, they have my group. No, this is a GPS network from the Colombian Geological Survey. The name of this is GeoRed, I think. GeoRed is the name. The person in charge of this is the name is Héctor Mora. He's a very famous person here in the Geological Survey. He's the person in charge about it, and they did the measures, and they published this paper about the subsidence in the Cartagena area. It's the first one released for the Caribbean coastline of Colombia.
Yeah, because sometimes the problem with this assessment of the subsidence rate in the area is that you don't know how much subsidence of anthropic origin you have.
Yes.
And how much, especially in this context, I think
yes.
You have quite a lot of compaction of the natural sediments. So
yes.
This is why I was wondering if you have also some longer data
yes.
available, something
yes.
in the last couple of millennia or something like this. But
yes.
sometimes it's difficult to have this kind of data. And the subsidence is based on, I don't know, 5 or 6 years of records. It's not very indicative.
Yeah. It's not indicative, but it's the first data. Something important to take into account here in Colombia is that we are younger in the young researchers in the coastal studies. We have if you take a look about the information of Colombia, the coastal information, you can find works about the Caribbean coastline from Pilkey, William Neal, the Jaime Orlando Martinez. They are really the pioneers in this information. They leave the work, and you have a hiatus, and then maybe the last 10 years, the research in the coastline began again. And we need more data because, for example, we don't have data of subsidence, we don't have wave data, we don't have access to sea level rise data, and it's really complicated to try to understand the different process, because if you don't have the data, it's hard to understand what happened. These people have the data, they have the information. 5 years is not the best time span, but it's the first set of data, and I think the next step is try to understand, okay, you have subsidence here, right? Is anthropic, is natural, is a geological process. What is the process related with this? Is the multi-epic process in the area responsible for this subsidence? But I think we start the work. That is the most important here, I think.
Okay, thank you so much.
Real pleasure.
Anybody else? Here we go. Enzo. I cannot hear you.
I know that guy. I know that guy. Enzo, ciao.
We cannot. Non so come si può fare. Se funziona la chat, puoi provare a scrivere, però io purtroppo non la vedo.
Enzo, Ciao Enzo, salve professore.
Mi spiace, ma vedo che il microfono è aperto, però
Maybe he has problem with this.
Probably that's some technical problem with the mic. If you can fix it, I let Luigi take his turn, and then afterwards we can try again.
Yes.
Luigi, ciao, please.
Thank you, Lucio. Hi, Nelson. Quick
Hello.
question. How about, do you have a plan of searching for continental shelf sand reservoir in the area in order to try to invert the trend of building groins and retments and seawalls just using sand? I have no idea if the Caribbean coast of the Colombia, the continental shelf, or the in deeper water after the active profile, you have some good sand for nourishment.
Well, this is a very interesting question, and they have a history behind. If you ask me if my group want to work about this, it's a little bit complicated because we are working in a university. In this moment, the research money in Colombia is hard to find. All the research that I have is paid for myself because it's really, really complicated. Here in Colombia, you lose a lot of time if you want to get money. It's better if you go to the field and try to do this, okay? And I think the government institution wants to understand that kind of process, but as we work in the action-reaction basis, this is the type of information that need a little bit more of time, and the government needs quick results, right? And it's complicated. It's complicated. Try to understand what happened in this area with this kind of assessment of this kind of information. In my particular case, our group is try to assessing what happened with the coastline. But then, if we need to go to the continental shelf, etc., it's a little bit complicated. We don't have the money about that for develop this kind of research. It's really, really complicated, and this kind of research is, I can say, this exclusive for the government institution or our university that work with the government institution. In my case, I don't like this kind of work because it's a lot of bureaucracy involved. I don't like that. In this point of my life, I don't like this kind of problem. But it's really complicated. But simple answer, no. We don't have this opportunity.
Thank you very much. That was clear. The only thing I can think is if it doesn't come from the university, from the scientific side, the first call to the government to do this work, it's going to be difficult that you're going to invert the. I was thinking about the fact that you have this direct flight from Amsterdam, and usually the Dutch people are quite active in this kind of research. Also, from United States experience, I think maybe it can be a way to bring the attention to the government of the possibility of inverting the.
Yeah. In fact, our government paid to the Dutch people in order to try to. It's a very funny situation because I like to tell his history because it's funny, but at the same time it's sad and show the reality of the country. Our country paid a lot of money to the Dutch government in order to try to solve the coastal erosion issues. Right? The Dutch people came here, and the Dutch people came to me in order to get the information. Right? At the end, they present my papers, my information, right? And the government of Colombia pay to Dutch for do that. I can receive this, but the people prefer The government people prefer this kind of situation. In some point, this situation must to change. I no idea what will be the spark to get the change, but this need to change because it's not a good approach that we have in this moment in the way that we manage this kind of problem in the Caribbean coastline of Colombia or in Colombia in general terms. And during these pandemic times, all the research is stopped. And if you have the chance to go to the beach and get the data, it's okay for you, but get the money for the government, complicated in this moment. It's complicated. It's complicated in this moment.
Thank you very much. Very clear. The very last question, very quick. Have you planned to do some kind of monitoring to check the pollution degree of the beaches during the pandemic time? I make it like example. Are you imagining to find a better situation now with less tourism and stuff like that?
That is the idea, but I say to do so, I don't have time in this moment. It's really, really complicated to me. I have, okay, I'm working with coastal problems, coastal issues, and some point 3 years before I start to work in litter issue. If you can see, my last papers are about litter problems in the Caribbean coastline of Colombia and specifically in the Atlantico coastline, right? What happened about this? I like the litter topic. I enjoy that, but I want to come back to the dunes, to the cliffs, and etc., right? The pollution about the pandemic or over the pandemic. We have a baseline before the pandemic situation, right? We have the baseline because we have all the information for the Atlantic coastline in this moment. But the problem is if we need to do the surveys in the beach in this area, we need at least one student or two in order to collect the information. And in this moment, it's really hard to get a student to do this kind of activities, and all the responsibility of the field trip is my responsibility. And it's complicated in this moment because I have some things to do. For example, just 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, a special issue about marine pollution, littering environments is running. I am the guest editor on this. I received papers. I just moved from my house. My father died. I have a lot of things to do in this moment. I don't have the time. I want, but I don't have the time. If I have 10 hours more, maybe, but in this moment I cannot. It's complicated to me.
Thank you very much. That was clear. Thank you.
Oh, a pleasure.
Okay, so is there any other question?
Lucio, our dunes is waiting for you. Behind the hill, we have a dune field ready, waiting for you.
And that's great. So I'm looking forward to that. But
yes,
with this freaking pandemic, it's quite a problem. But you know,
a problem, yes.
There will be an end also to it. So I think that if there's no other question, I think that we can call it a webinar. And I'm sorry for Enzo and the technical problem for his questions, but I really don't know how to fix it right now from remote.
Enzo have my email, like he can send me an email with that problem. Enzo,
that's for sure.
All you know Enzo Prancini. Enzo have my email. He can write me an email with any kind of problem about that. And he have my phone number. He can call me with any kind of problem.
Okay, so I think that we can call it a webinar, and I want to thank you back again for being here and saving some time for us from the distance. And we really know that that there will be some other chances to meet personally, obviously, and having you here again, maybe live. Who knows?
Okay, my friends, thank you very much for the invitation. Really a pleasure.
Thank you again. So see you and take care for everything.
Okay, my friend. Thank you very much. See you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao. Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao, Lucio. Thank you very much.
Ciao, Nelson.
Ciao. See you.